Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to Rangers Radio.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Rangers Radio. Joining myself, Rob, on tonight's show. It's the one and only GB. Evening, GB.
Evening, Robert. Long time no speak, mate. How's things?
Aye, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Yourself? It has been a long time since we were both on a show together. We've aged a bit.
I think so, mate. I think we've actually went through 3 managers since the last time we've talked.
Oh, that wouldn't be hard, mate. How are you? How you doing?
Aye, good, mate. Good. I was on a bit ago with Oxon, and very concerned about how things were going, but it's amazing how quick good result and a good performance, mate, gives you a wee bit of optimism again for the Rangers.
Aye, well, it's safe to say, mate, I think we're in a better place going into the game tomorrow night, which we'll touch on throughout the show, than we were going into the game last Thursday.
Yep, aye, mate, 100%. We've got now a proper left back, I would say, mate. That is the kind of performance we're looking for over signing, mate. They come straight in the door. They've not even probably had time to unpack their bags, and they go out and put a man of the match performance in their first game for Rangers. So I don't know who to congratulate, because I have been very critical of the recruitment team. I'll probably more lean towards the manager on that one. But seemingly in his interview, Penrice's interview, that we were looking at him in January, so the manager wasn't about then. So I'll give them kudos for that signing. And like I say, that's the kind of level we're looking for, mate. We're looking for guys to come in, contribute right away, and to stake a claim in the Rangers team, mate, and improve us. And well, there you go. He improved us overnight. I think he actually helped us get most of the goals throughout that game, mate. So I really chuffed with how that unfolded at the weekend for him, and hopefully long may it continue, mate. Not saying Romans is kind of out the picture for me now or anything like that, but it's gave a good healthy competition on that side of the park, mate, and hopefully with the new signing coming in the day as well, now we've got a bit of competition on that right side as well, mate.
Certainly, mate, and as you said, we announced this morning the arrival of Aston Villa's 20-year-old Serbian Kosta Nedeljkovic, a 20-year-old Serbian, as I said, mate. He's been at Leipzig on loan last season, a bit of an injury-hit season, but he's came up with a reputation, mate, that he's an experienced player of his age, a lot of potential in his game as well. He's quite a fast attacking fullback, different to McCrory and different to Sterling, so could be another one, mate, as you say. He might come in tomorrow night and just show something that he's worth and make a claim that that's his jersey to lose.
That's it. Again, they helps Big Sterling. Big Sterling puts in performances on that side as well. Ox has touched on it that he can be quite a versatile player for Rangers as well. So I think we're starting to see now that we're at least got cover in areas, even if Sterling's not going to be playing the right back position all the time. If this boy does come in and hit the ground running, then we've got a right good player in Sterling that can, let's say, slot in where needed when it's maybe if the McInnes does change his tactics to a free at the back or anything like that at one point. So it's good. It was good that we've got options. That's what I think we've all been wanting. And there needs to be more to come, Robert, from me. I know that says we've got to touch on the game tomorrow night, but we need to keep helping the manager, mate, because it's proven as soon as we've gave him a bit of quality in the team, he goes out and gets a result. So it just needs to keep coming. I just hope it's not too late, mate.
I'm sure it's a question that's been asked to the manager today in his press conference, which we'll hear shortly, mate. But on the deal itself, we'll call him Costa, right? We'll just keep it simple. For Costa,
Yeah.
are you a fan of that kind of deal, mate? A loan with an option to buy for £4 million, but becomes mandatory if he makes a certain number of appearances?
It does, because at least you've touched on it with the injury side of things, and he is a young boy, so there is a bit of play there with time. With him, like he's not in the kind of latter years that we're going to say that we've got an injury-prone player. So it is a kind of try before you buy. If a boy comes in and performs and he's getting really decent minutes on the park, then we can be sure of that 4 million. If you know what I mean, so it's quite a smart way. Like we can see the investment. Whereas, like you says, if he comes in and after 2 games he goes out with touch wood, this doesn't happen, but he goes out with like something like a hamstring injury or something like that, and that's a kind of continual thing of the season, then we've then signed a player for cover basically. Then you know what I mean, and which is good because of the Casey Sterling and stuff like that, how his injury season can be as well. So between the two of them, we'll probably get one solid player. But like I says, I'm really hoping that the boy has probably got some of that behind him, and he does go in and cement his place. And I says we get a decent £4 million player out of it. But again, if it doesn't work out, mate, then we've tried it and we've covered ourselves with having that expenditure that we can go and invest that £4 million elsewhere if it needs to be.
You won't be surprised, mate. There will be a lot of people out there that will look at that kind of defensive structure yet again, where you've got Penrice initially joining on loan, Godfrey initially on loan, and Costa. But what I like about them, mate, is there's the option to buy for Penrice for, I think it's 1.75 million, Godfrey 3 million, and obviously this boy Costa, if he makes so many games, it's a mandatory 4 million. So already, despite being loan deals, you could have the foundations of another back 4 going into next season. I think it's healthier than what we were from last season going into this season, if that makes sense.
Aye, because it was like certainties, wasn't it, that we weren't going to keep certain folk, whether we wanted them or no, kind of thing. Whereas this one, well, let's face it, the only way they're really going to stay at Rangers is if they're at success. And if they're at success, it means the team's a success, and it means we are seeing probably shiny things in a cabinet, hopefully. Which again means that we're going to have trust in the signings. As it stands now, we've always said that every signing's a kind of a toss of the coin. You're just hoping that they come in and they're being successful and stuff like that. But if we want to set up these kind of contracts and they do what they are expected to do, then we reward them with, I don't know, 2-year contract, 3-year contract, whatever. And then that way we're investing in the right areas and investing in the right player. We're not investing in somebody like a Matondo where we're trapped with him for 4 years and he's just sitting in the doldrums of the Ibrox training ground. So we should let us this way. We can probably trust the investment. If again they've got to prove it, and if they want to be here, then they're going to have to either turn up for their work and perform.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, mate. If it's going to be permanence, then it needs to be shown first of all in performances, and then that's where you go from there. But wish them all well, and of course, the new boy Costa arriving this morning. I've seen the training videos. He looks keen. He looks ready, and hopefully we'll see him tomorrow night at some point. But what we'll do, mate, is we'll hear from the gaffer in his first part of his interview ahead of tomorrow night's game, and we'll see what questions were put to him today. So let's hear from Derek McInnes.
Derek, we'll start with the new face in the squad. How excited are you to have Costa, and what will he bring to your team?
Yeah, well, obviously it was a position we had identified at the start of the pre-season just to try and bring in. We have looked at various different options. Obviously, the club's been reliant on Dujon, and obviously Dujon's had his history of injuries and issues. So we're looking to try and bring maybe a different type of fullback to that. And Roland got high opinion of Dujon, but I think with Costa's what you get is that similar to Vanya, really, but in a fullback position, real enthusiasm, athleticism that got him down the pitch. Shows good quality, a real eagerness to play the role. And when it's somebody so young, there's obviously going to be still areas to improve, but we're looking forward to try to get those improvements with him. But his eagerness to come here was clear, and the conversations we had with him a few weeks ago at the outset, after speaking to him and him speaking to us, it was something we were always keen to try and do.
You've obviously got James in as well. Do you feel as if you are beginning to build and get to where you want to be for this squad?
Yeah, but I think, delighted that we managed to get James, as I said, on Sunday. I think the ability to react to Twil's injury and being in a transfer window allowed us to do that. But, grateful for the fact that we could bring James in, and I think he showed for his performance that he's got a lot to give us. So, yeah, it's two full-back areas that we look a bit stronger than we did a week ago, because we were really light. So we've addressed that pretty swiftly, thankfully. But we still have work to do towards the top end of the pitch, clearly. Even though I've said earlier that they're the toughest ones at times to get. They're the ones with the bigger ticket a lot of times. The ones where, we're keen to really address because they're the ones that can make a difference for us. And I do think that if we can get the right ones in those areas, it'll change the whole dynamic of the team. And with Eustace injury as an added complication here, we tried to address that issue as well. But, scoring 5 goals on Sunday, we showed enough attacking threat. But, we're still keen to make those additions as quickly as possible.
How close are you, Derek, to what's the striker search been like? I'm sure you won't want to reveal names, but maybe just give us an insight into how you're finding that search for Yusuf's replacement.
Yeah, well, it's not really my department, but obviously we are all working close together to try and bring the best option, not just an option, and try to be specific to what we're trying to look for, to be honest. But number 9s are normally more difficult ones to do, and it wasn't an area we were looking to try and do, but obviously with Yusuf's injury, everybody, the lads are all actively trying to find and source good options for us to try and see if we can deliver one. But certainly the work's been aplenty. We've been poring over different options and different strikers, and so we're hoping we can land on the one that we want, and hopefully we can bring via quickly.
Heading into this game tomorrow, how much difference does it make going into it on the back of a convincing win at the weekend?
Yeah, I think winning is why we're all here. It's like you can be good as you want Monday to Friday, but if you don't win your game at the weekend, it's tough. I think even coming in on Monday morning, everybody was a bit brighter, a bit more a spring in a step. Because ultimately, I want a winning dressing room, I want a winning club, and getting a win was important for us. It took a bit longer than we would have hoped to get ourselves going, but I think the manner of the win was quite convincing. A lot of what we wanted for the game, we got. There's still certain things we need to improve on, clearly, but scoring 5 goals at home in any sort of game is good shooting. So, got to take the positives from it, and I thought it was some good performances within the game. So, no, absolutely. Getting into this game, everything seems a bit easier, a bit more enjoyable when you're winning football.
Just checking, Derek, Nijelovic and Penrice, are they both in the squad for tomorrow, and they're likely to feature from the start?
Yeah, as it stands, I think that James is being registered. We're still waiting on Costas at the minute, but we intentions to do that, yeah.
And he's ready to go, despite just having turned up?
Yeah, well, he's been training and playing with Villa throughout the pre-season, and we've looked at his minutes and his training schedule. He's been pretty active, so yeah, a bit like James. He came straight in on Sunday. There was always an element of risk in that, but he did well with that side of it. So if called upon, if we can get him registered in time and stuff like that, then I'm sure he'll do well for us.
Derek, Nico was obviously your captain at the weekend. Are you surprised at how long you've actually had with him, and is it difficult, at the back of your mind, you're maybe still preparing for life without him if a bid comes in?
Yeah, I think come into this with my eyes wide open, knowing that Nico was a potential flight risk. Obviously, I'm still in the World Cup when I came in, and having a couple of conversations with him. We were keen for him to do well there, obviously, and come back to us in good form. But it's like everything else. Every player's got a price. Every player has got a time where there's maybe suits them to move on, suits the club or whatever. But I think it's important for me that to say that I think Nico's been a dream since we came in terms of how he's set about his work, and he doesn't look like a boy who's distracted in any way with that. I've no doubt there's a lot of stuff going on in the background with him, and I've no doubt there's going to be plenty of conversations being had about Miko, but I think I just need to play it by ear, really, to be honest. And if somebody tells me differently, then that changes things. But no, I'm enjoying working with him. Has to be said.
For the outside, it feels like Big Fernandez is struggling a wee bit at the moment. The fans get on him at one point, just in terms of his concentration. Is that an issue? And is the kind of lack of competition or lack of defenders, is that kind of played a part in that, do you think?
Yeah, I think we're trying to help every player really try to get to their best form, and I think every player's at a different kind of moment, and we've got to make sure that we are as stingy as we can be at the back and get that rhythm and get those kind of relationships. There's been different centre-half pairings in the games that we've played. And I think for everybody it's to try and find their best form. And I think at this stage of the season sometimes it's difficult to be at your best, but certainly have to have that real focus and concentration and application at your work to try and get your best performances quickly. So every player's kind of similar. I understand the question, but I think we have got good players in the club and got a lot of potential in the club, and it's up to us to try and realise that potential. But I do think players themselves need to take that on board and be really concentrated, really focused, and try to get the best from themselves, because sometimes football's easy and you can just turn up and everything seems automatic. Sometimes you need to work that a wee bit harder at your game, and I think for us all at the start of the season, a new manager and a lot of new players coming in, everybody's got to have that real focus and concentration of what's been asked of them and what's expected of them.
Thanks for that, Fox. GB will walk through the press of their part one. The first part, obviously, regarding the new signing Costa. Do you see that the way McKinnon spoke there, that was solely down to the concerns regarding Dujon Sterling?
I mean, it's strange that they identified it knowing that they did actually have cover. I mean, with Ross, so I don't know, like, they must have still seen that they needed like a kind of better attacking option in there. But he's young. That's a bit that kind of jumped out to me. He's picked up that obviously he's brought in a kind of younger one for development in that position. So it still seems like Sterling's kind of going to be the main pick, but the young boy's there to challenge for that and learn and develop. And if they can get the best out of him, then he'll become the number one in that position. Which is only natural because he'll have pace and power hopefully down there, and he'll stay injury free. And then Sterling becomes the kind of cover, which is a decent cover as well to have in there. So I hope it kind of works out like that for him. But again, Guinness has clearly liked the signing. He's liked the boy's attitude when he's been speaking to him all the weeks ago and stuff like that. And the thing it helps as well that the boy's really keen to be here. So that again shows there's a hunger and a desire there. And then like I says, he's got an international teammate and amongst them as well. So it ticks a lot of boxes. And it'll be, tell if I was the same debut as Penrice, then I'll be probably eating a bit of humble pie, to be honest, mate. But like I says, it'll be good to see, like I says, the defence get themselves together. But I just kind of find the question back to you, mate. Where's your head with it? Where's that kind of sign? Is it just a hit and hope, or is it something for the future?
I think it's something for the future, if I'm being honest. And I've been on the show before and I've said that when Ross McCrory was announced, I didn't expect him to be the number one replacement for Tavernier. I think they're two different profiles of defenders. I think, as you say, McCrory's not known for busting his guts forward. By all accounts, in some of the footage we've seen of Costa, he is very attacking fullback. And I think if we had somebody similar to Romans, and obviously we've seen Penrice and Sunday on that right hand side, we're threatening down both sides. With the way we play the inverted wingers, I think we need that to stretch the game. Those kind of wide attacking fullbacks, just to give us pace, overlap, cause problems. And I think with Sterling's injury concerns and fitness levels, it makes sense to me, mate, to have an extra body there that can play if he's not required. But it wouldn't surprise me. I know AK asked this question last night. Wouldn't it surprise me if we don't see a centre back coming in during this window and Dujon Sterling may be deployed at times as a centre back, and it's Costa and McCrory who's your two right backs.
Aye, possibly, mate. Yep. Or you could have. I know Ross has played centre back as well, not as much as what Dujon's played, but I suppose that kind of then ticks the box with this. With Costa coming in, does that spell the end of us looking at another centre back coming into the club? I mean, could we really say that's it signed off now, that that's what we're going to run with this season? We've got two left backs. We've got Maka, Fernandez,
Godfrey.
Godfrey, aye, and now Costa. So, to be fair, let's say if it's a versatile kind of defence, then fair enough. I'll go with that. You're hoping that the Lexi's makes them stay injury free, mate. But as we've seen in the early weeks there, as soon as we kind of lose a central defender and we start putting kind of square pegs into round holes, then it gets a bit iffy, doesn't it? So ideally, I would like to see us get another solid centre back like Maka in. But if that's to the sacrifice us getting some top quality up the other end of the park, mate, then I'm cool with that. But what I don't want is that we just kind of fizzle out and we get, again, a couple of average players up the top, and then we're kind of left with what we're left with. So it's got to be obviously right for the club and all the rest of it. But it's all kind of roll of the dice, isn't it? I mean, it's we're getting quality in, but we just still don't know. We don't know. Like, this boy's he's had a loan already with joining Aston Villa and stuff like that, as an internationalist. But it's got to be a time will tell with that signing, I think, as well.
I am like yourself, mate. I'd like to see another centre back in the door just for depth, but I would probably go for somebody more experienced rather than a kind of young prospect. I think we need a kind of experienced leader. Godfrey had showed glimpses when before he got injured how vocal he can be, and he can be that kind of person. I still think we need that extra bit of experience in that back line, and it may help guys like Manny Fernandez, who it has come under a lot of criticism, and at times rightly so, for his performances. Don't want to dwell too much on the guy, but I think that experience would help the whole back line, him in particular. But as you say, if it means going up and getting extra quality at the top end of the park, which McInnes said is a priority at the minute after Yusuf's injury, then I think that makes sense, mate. If you're going to go and get somebody of quality for a big bit of money, then it's at the top end of the park where you can create, you can score, you can assist, you can be a threat going forward. I think that would be all right with me as well, as long as we don't leave ourselves short at the back, because we've been caught out before in previous history. You mentioned the guy McCann there, mate. Have you been surprised by him, his performances? I know he's not really been tested as such, but he's come in, he's looked composed. He's not really put a foot wrong, mate, has he?
He's no, mate. He's, again, another surprise signing. I did fear the worst when it was the MLS signing. And I was like, oh, well, here we go again. It's going to be a kind of iffy signing. Somebody will need time to settle and stuff like that. But to be fair to him, he's came in. He's a good passer of the ball. He's so far he's reading the game well. I think it's quite funny sometimes when Fernandez is turning into him, as if to say that he's the problem when it's really Fernandez is the problem. But not for me, like, just as a novice watching a game of football, like I don't see him. I don't see where he's made a mistake yet, to be fair. So I'm quite happy. He's got a bit of pace about him as well. He can see a pass, and he doesn't rush things either. I noticed that, and he's very aware of like, his goalkeeper as well. I noticed that. I don't know if that's because of where the league he's played in, because they like to use their goalkeeper a lot in the MLS, but the way he's always actually bringing the goalkeeper into the game as well is really good, I think. So I can see something like that, Robert. Another reinvestment like that into the centre back would be lovely. It's just it's Godfrey. I know he's got experience and he's got a bit of miles behind him and stuff like that, but that was always an annoying thing with him. Like, for us to roll the dice on a loan signing and to hope that he was going to last a season was a bit mental, I think. And if they do roll the dice for this, then I hope it's in the understanding that the squad's happy with that and the manager's happy with it, that Ross or Sterling is probably got to be the infillers into that centre back position if called upon. You mean?
Well, hopefully, mate, we're scoring enough goals and winning enough games that we don't have to be concerned about the defence, and the least we talk about them, the better. I think that would make us all be assured that we're doing something well in the park. But obviously, Sunday was a big win, mate. The 5-1 victory against St Mirren. We needed it, but it's a massive contributor going into tomorrow night. I think there would have been a total different atmosphere going into this Conference League playoff on the back of another disappointing result. But the fact we've won a game, 5 goals, some great football in that time as well, fast-paced movement, change of shape and formation, we looked a lot better than we had done in recent weeks.
We looked as though we had an understanding, mate, of what we were actually meant to go and do. Like, I couldn't believe how well our wingers played at the weekend.
And that includes Gassama.
That includes Gassama. Gassama looked as if somebody put a new brain in his head, and he knew what his role was that day. It was just to go out and absolutely tear a defence apart. And you're like, where's that been? Like, and that's all we're asking for. Even Curtis coming on, Curtis was looking a bit iffy. Again, looked as if he'd came on with a total different mindset. He was only to drive on and again, like I says, getting their goals, create assists, drive at the defence. So it looked as though, I don't know if the team's been a bit miffed, and you've shown a bit of anger there at the weekend where they went out and grabbed the result. But like I say, it's just a total different mindset, and I was wondering if it was ever got to turn up, and it was good to see that it did. But it needs to, like you says, mate, it's one result. It's good that we got it, but it needs to come again tomorrow night. We need to go out there and flex a bit again and take a right good result in the second leg. And again, that'll just, the momentum then starts, isn't it? Maybe McInnes as well. I don't know how he's going to set up tomorrow night, but again, a lot of folk at his presser after the game was saying to him about the whole change. He didn't go with the 2 up front. Maybe he's had to take a learning, Robert, out of it all as well. That it's maybe the team's just not ready for what he's looking for the 2 up top. I mean, maybe it doesn't suit the team. So again, hopefully he's took learnings for it, the squad's took learnings for it, and they all come together. And this is tomorrow night, big performance, mate, because it's as important as, I think if we didn't get the result of the weekend, I don't think you'd have as many fans really wanting to turn up to the kind of game. It'd be more sitting in the house watching it and no overly fussed with it. But I think tomorrow night now, there's an emphasis that we need to get into this. We need to earn money for it. And again, as we've seen with our new signing Costa, that he's turned around and said that he wants to turn up, win trophies and play in Europe. So it's another appetizer for new signings, isn't it? If we get into Europe, into group stages and stuff, then people are more inclined to want to come, because then they're showing themselves on one of the top stages. I mean, I know the Conference League isn't the best, but again, it still puts you out there on national telly or European telly. I mean, so it's worth that today, especially to get the exposure. So, important game tomorrow night, mate.
Aye, it certainly is. But obviously, as the lower of the 3 European kind of competitions with the Champions League and Europa League, but you look at previous winners, mate, West Ham, Chelsea. It's a competition that you would probably fancy, but there will still be some big teams in that, the way the pyramid falls and the teams drop down these days. But as you say, there's finances to be involved. But we'll see what else Derek says about it in part 2 of his press conference, then we'll get the phone lines opened. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good, mate. Crack on.
Let's hear from Derek McInnes, part 2.
Derek, I know a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about the captaincy, it wasn't a major issue for your own point of view, but obviously Lawrence has come into the team, been out of the team a couple of times. Is it a case that even though he's the club captain, he's not going to be obviously guaranteed that start. He is going to have to accept that on occasion he is going to find himself on the bench?
Yeah, I think I said that at the time when I spoke to Lawrence, just because the captain doesn't guarantee anything. He accepted that. You know, he's not a daft boy. He's not going to start stamping his feet and saying this and that. You know, it's somebody has to be club captain, and you know, having the benefit of working with Lawrence previously, he's a brilliant captain, absolutely brilliant captain, a brilliant boy, and he's got a lot to offer. And I think everybody can maybe look too much at that, to be honest. Obviously, you want your captain to have a big influence on and off the pitch, and I believe Lawrence will have that. So for me, it's a non-question, but I understand how people might see more of it.
Will you still look to add another centre-half into the squad, Derek, or will you try and use like Dujon or Ross McCrory to kind of fill in those areas now that you've got a bit of right-back cover in as well?
So, I think, never say never, but obviously priorities at the top end of the pitch. We need to bring players in at the top end of the pitch at the minute. It's not to say we wouldn't be looking elsewhere, but I think, well, it's where we're at the minute. Hopefully the next sign we make is someone in the forward areas. And that would be our priority, Chris.
Derek, is there intention to add still a winger off the left and a winger off the right? Again, does it depend on what's available to you?
Yeah, I think just want a winger that we can get at the minute or the level, to be honest. He plays off the left or plays off the right, it'll do me. If we can play off both sides, even better. So we've got, you know, I think you've got Gas in Finlay, who obviously was up for prayers, and there's creeping good moments, and Riakota is going to get better as we go along. And I think that we've got players that can play in these positions. But I think that for everything else, you know, we see the importance of these positions, and we see the importance of the attacking threat that we have to have at Rangers, and but so does everybody. It's not as if it's just me saying it. We're all trying to get them, and I believe that whoever we bring in will give us that real dose of quality.
And just on the fact you played that shape at the weekend, the 4-3-3, is that giving you a bit of thought, given the attacking threat you carried?
Yeah, I think it is. I said after the game, it's not ironic, but it's we showed we're probably more attacked. We've had plenty of possession, plenty of penalty box entries in most of the games, but I actually thought we got moved up within the pitch a lot quicker. We got support beyond Ryan, our main striker. We had good midfield support. We had good transitional play, and I really enjoyed watching a lot of it. We've done a video for the team to look back at today. A lot of the qualities we showed, both winning the ball in good areas and what we did with it. And you know, it's you know, I've always liked to play with two strikers, but we made the decision to go with one. Thinking that someone would fill the middle of the pitch as well, and we thought the game suited us to play with one striker. And ultimately, sometimes you've got to have the right combination of strikers as well. Sometimes you can only play two strikers if it's really worth it. And you know, a lot of the time those strikers have got to be a bit different. And we made the decision to go with one striker at the weekend, and certainly played dividends in that game. It's not to say that that's always what we're going to do.
Derek, you know Lawrence better than anyone. How's his mindset at the moment in terms of the goal return? Is there an anxiety, or is there just that belief that when it clicks, it will click?
You know, I think when you've got a boy like Lawrence who knows how he's way about the penalty box, he knows how to score goals, and he takes that role and that responsibility on, then you understand that it's. I never worry too much about that, especially with somebody like Lawrence, because he's too good not to get scoring on a regular basis, you know, and he's consistently shown over a period of time in the Premier League 20-odd goals return every season at Hearts. And you know, for me, he's I think people can over-emphasise these sort of things, and sometimes for me it's just a case of just let the boy be and just let him play his natural game. And the best strikers, as we all know, is having that instinctive part to the game. Everything looks really natural and seamless, you know, and I've no doubts that he's going to do well here.
The team would have got a lift, obviously, from Sunday. You just hope they can build momentum now starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, we're always looking for that. I think is if we can get another win on top of it. Obviously, we want to take a victory over to the Czech Republic next week. All the focus is obviously we've been looking at them over the last few days, and you obviously got to look at yourselves and what you want to do, but also look at the opposition. But at the end of the day, if we can deliver a big performance, if the players can individually be as strong as they were at the weekend, because I do think we had a lot of strong individual performances. And it pleased me after the efforts of Sunday. Our best physical output was against Hibs after travelling from Poland, and I thought it was a decent performance, certainly in terms of effort. And the lads got rewarded for their effort again on Sunday. For me, it was just important we won the game for so many reasons. Supporters needed to see a winning team. It was nice we got a few goals. It was nice we had some good performances, but if we can follow that up with another win, of course, that's only going to help matters before we travel to the Czech Republic. Last one, Gilbs.
Derek, what do you expect from Jablonec tomorrow night, and do you consider yourself favourites over this double-legged tie?
I think it's difficult to really assess who's favourites and who not. I'm really born who's favourites, but for me, it's just it's a game that we put the emphasis on ourselves to go and win it. I know you watch them, but sometimes you can never really tell, because obviously they're playing teams in their own league, and that the teams that have played previously in Europe have maybe not been the same level as what we are, but at the same time, you can only take on what's in front of you. And, they're clearly a well-organised team, like most teams are. They've got a few good individuals who can make the game a bit more problematic for you, like most teams, but, we feel as though we've got a good handle on what they are, and they can change from shape to shape a lot of times. So, even within the same personnel, so got to be ready for that. But ultimately, I'm just coming back to what we said earlier. I'm just really want to try and concentrate on us finding our level and us getting big performances from us individually, because if I feel as though if we can do that, then although I'm expecting a tough game, I expect it to be tougher for them.
While you are sitting listening on your own, why not take part and give us a phone? We would love to hear your points of view, so get off your bum and call 0141 356 1972.
Thanks again for that, Fox. LGB, never say never on a centre-back coming in, but from those words, it sounds like he's thinking if we sort the top end, we won't need to worry too much about the back.
Aye, it does, Robert, doesn't it? It was funny hearing that first bit, the second part of the interview, they just went straight in about that, where Chris Jack asked that question about the centre-back position, is that you finished? And then we've just discussed about Sterling and that. And by the way, that's no me pre-listening to the interview, and that was me actually just listening for the first time there, so it just shows you that minds are thinking. Is he right to focus on the top end of the park? Yes. I think it's been proven that most teams that go on to win a title, it's all about scoring goals. It's about opening doors and all the rest of it. And I don't think he was meaning anything bad with Gassama and Curtis and stuff like that. I think he was just, with the quality side that you keep mentioning, I think he's just looking for somebody that, like I says, that's very dangerous week in, week out. I mean, would they know that Curtis can have up and down moments, which is fine. I mean, that's what he's got to develop at Rangers. Same with Gassama. They have this kind of up and down period. And I think what he's looking for is, like he was saying in the interview, just wanting that one winger that can come in. It's got proven consistency and can open doors. I mean, and get what says the body, the striker, he did a job. So I hope, like, again, he's saying it's a hard position to fill. My only fear is that some of the ones that we are looking at, Robert, is you're like, are they any better than the quality that we've already got? That's what I'm kind of more concerned about. So it'll be interesting to see who they get out of the line on specifically that position, and then obviously we're still looking at a striker as well.
Aye, certainly. I mean, there's obviously the usual speculation going about of who could come in the door. I don't think there's anything concrete of interest, and maybe just a genuine interest in a player, maybe some talks, but it is areas that we need to focus on, mate. And as you touched on there, the striking position, the media doing their best there, mate, is always putting a bit of extra pressure on Shankland because his goal return has not been the greatest of starts to his Rangers career, but the media doing their thing, extra pressure on him when there's questions being asked. But McInnes answered it well, if I was honest as well, mate, regarding the fact that he's captain. He doesn't need to start every game. And I agree with that. Just because you're a captain doesn't entitle you to play every single game. If we have a striker, whether it be Miovski, Nadiri, or somebody that comes in and does a better job on the park than scoring goals than Lawrence Shankland's doing, then they start. It's common sense, whether you're a captain or not.
I think because it's such a long time that we've had the kind of it's a captaincy set up, and they're always there week in week out, and with Tav always been fit and stuff like that. It was always there was nobody really ever challenging that right back position, so we never really seen a change in that position. So Tav probably never really fell into the role that Shankland's seen himself in the new way. Strikers challenging him for his position, so. It is hard for me to get my head around it. I've got to admit that, like with the whole chop and changing the captaincy all the time in every game, I would much prefer that your leader is there all the time. But if McInnes is cool with it and he's got that kind of relationship with Shankland, and Shankland understands that it's just not the captain on the park, it's the captain behind the scenes, and then again match day or whatever, geeing up the players and stuff like that, and then for the bench and stuff, being the captain, then I'm cool with it. As long as it works, that's what I'm asking for. As long as it works out for us, you know what I mean?
Does that not emphasise the point of what McInnes said right at the start, mate, when he wasn't just wanting a single captain in the building, he wanted a team of captains, so that when Shankland's not on the pitch, there is still those leaders out on there doing the job?
Aye, but unfortunately, I think the ones that have kind of took the armband, apart from Raskin to a certain extent, because Raskin, one thing about him, he doesn't miss a referee. He's always in their ear. He's always questioning things and stuff like that. But the other ones that have kind of taken the armband so far, haven't really, I don't think they've hit the ground running, to be fair. So if it is like for the foreseeable to know, if it's Shankland is trying to get a bit of form, bit of fitness or whatever it is, and it's Raskin to know, then as was touched on, we're going to. Raskin seems as though he's again just waiting for the offer to come in, and then he's off. So it's I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a settled captaincy. That's the thing, and I get that you've got to have a bunch of captains, but I do feel as though you need that one focal point sometimes to turn up in a game, and just be there to keeping tap of the players. To be honest, I mean, I don't know if Shankland's able to do that for the bench anyway, but it's. I don't know. It's just a bit alien for me. Like usually, like you say, you see the Barry Ferguson in the middle of the park shouting balling all the time. Tav wasn't a kind of a baller, but again, he was there week in, week out. So it is maybe just a mere modern way of looking at the captaincy. But as long as McInnes is cool with it and it works within the squad, mate, then I've no issue with it.
Aye, team game. Talking about team players. Evening, AK.
Good evening, Rob. Good evening, GB. Everybody that's listening. How we doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yourself?
Aye, fine, mate. Fine, pal. Just caught some of your discussion there. Doing my family duties out, doing a show tomorrow. You know what it's like, guys. So no long in catching some of the games that's on the night, and obviously listening to yourselves in the background. But I caught some of the McInnes presser today. Thought he sounded pretty positive and optimistic about what's ahead for Thursday, and optimistic, I think, about what's ahead for the transfer window as well. A wee question for you, though, and for anybody that's listening, come in and give us your opinions. If you had the option, particularly bearing in mind after a Chinmeaty, where we get a £22 million and we've, unfortunate injuries, so we've lost that. Every time we play Nico Raskin, now for me it's a £20 gamble, right? A lot of the recruitment, you would fair to say the support have been underwhelmed. If we were to replace Lewis Ferguson with Nico Raskin, would you take it? Yes or no?
For me, yes. GB?
Depends the price. I mean, if we're getting good money for Raskin, and we're not paying through the nose for Ferguson, then I mean, I'm not saying we can pick up Ferguson for £1 million, but I think it's would have been 20 million for him? No, I mean, so it's one of the ones, if it's affordable, then aye, 100%. We're going to need somebody in there with a bit of grit and determination. But we've seen at the weekend the way we're set up. There was players that we thought didn't have that in them. Pucci, that turned up at the weekend again as well and started to show what they've got about them. So it's a hard and rock place. I think the way we're looking now, we're needing the quality up the top end of the park. We're needing the wingers in. Would I want to maybe grab that money that we get off your asking and get a right good technical player up there? Maybe. I mean, if the midfield can survive it, then I would maybe invest the money elsewhere.
Your thoughts, AK? I think I know your thoughts, to be honest.
Well, I've been a big advocate for bringing in Lewis for a good wee while now. I just think he would be a fantastic captain, first and foremost. I don't think there would be any arguments. He would be in the injury room as well. I've heard previous interviews with Derek McInnes when he was at the Kilmarnock manager, and the guy spoke about him when he went, Aberdeen went and got him for Hamilton. And, he just speaks in glowing terms about him. And the thing that came through most about Derek's relationship with Lewis is how much he trusted him to play whatever role in the team. People have him as this kind of number 6, but he can also play 8. He's had him as a 10. I think he filled in at right back for him. And the guy didn't complain. He'd doing a job for the team. See, when you've got that sort of relationship between player and manager, the guy will just run through brick walls for you. Lewis is going to run through brick walls for us anyway because of his background and his pedigree and where he's came from. I just think everything fits, everything dovetails. He's at the right time and age. He's got the right, international experience now, top level in Italy. I believe he's not on a particularly bolster wage either, around about 26k, which I think we can afford. We'll probably even increase that. There's players on our books that Rob knows now is actually on more than that. I just think everything dovetails together, and if we can go and get them, listen, Lewis is a Rangers boy. Raskin, he's been at the club now for 3.5 years. We've won 1 trophy. Would you say we've progressed him? Aye, because he's got to Belgium in the World Cup and he's a mainstay in there in midfield. Good on the boy, but he's always looking to use Rangers as a stepping stone. Lewis is a bit like Derek McInnes. The whole purpose of him being in Fitba was to get him back to Rangers, particularly the way he left. And I just think the opportunities are there, the stars have aligned, and if we can go and get him. I know what you're talking about, GB. I was on with Ox last night as well. Don't know if you caught in it, but we've obviously got some dead wood in the periphery of the squad. I'm talking about Connor Barn, Lewis, Lyle Cameron, Suter, Mayovsky, McCausland. See if we can get some of them off the wage bill, even get some cash in for them. Then you could be looking at your potentially Cherny or a potential Seema, plus Lewis. Getting the two, I think, would be game changers. I know we're short up top with the Chernity, but see the way the team played it the weekend there with just that one striker up front, whether it's Naderi, whether it's Shankland or somebody else, I think we can get round about it, mate, and I think it's affordable for us. I really do. I mean, Derek Ferguson, I don't know if you caught some of his open goal stuff as well. I think Rangers have been in contact with him. I'm pretty sure they've been in contact with him because Derek's, he's open with these things, and he was angry because he's Rangers are messing with Lewis about here. It shouldn't be like that. He needs to know his future, this and that. If Rangers can't afford them, then why are they, making him turn his head in the first place? I think there's been contact there. I really do, and it's just up to getting the kind of money men into factoring where it's affordable. If, for example, if we sell Nico Raskin £20 million plus, I think you could get Lewis for between 15, 17, 18 million plus 30 odd grand a week in wage as well. I think it's doable, guys.
It certainly doesn't sound like it's a far-fetched kind of transfer that might have been a few seasons ago, AK. But when you mentioned there, he can play the 6, he can play the 8, and we've spoke, myself and GB, just before you came on, about the formation, the 4-3-3 or the 4-4-2. What would you two guys play? Would you play? I know McInnes will go game by game. There'll be times where it's the 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. But if you were the manager, your preferred formation, AK, you can pick in where you would put Lewis Ferguson and who with in your answer. 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. GB, then AK.
I think the 4-3-3 for me, it's always been the one. I think that the team has always played the best football. And under Gerrard, it was some of that Galatasaray game where we just spread the ball about as if we were Barcelona. It was the tactics just clicked for us. And again, there at the weekend, what I was saying to you, the amount of people that came on the park and it just seemed to click. It was night and day. I like the 4-4-2. I do like seeing two strikers up front, but the two strikers have got to be on form for me as well. And again, you've got to have a hard-working midfield for that. Walter done it at times as well. It worked really well for him. But again, he had the quality then. I just think, this is the weekend there. I think Derek's probably took a learning for it. And if that's going to work for the team, then I've got the 4-3-3 and Ferguson goes right into the centre of that park. And where I agree with AK is that I would definitely, if Raskin goes out the door and Ferguson's available, I would go after him, because as we've seen across the city, I think we are missing that kind of mainstay, leader in that park. As soon as you see it all the time when they lost McGregor earlier, it's as if the wheels come off a bit. And every time that he's in that midfield driving it and driving the standards and all the rest of it, I think if we had poor kind of Lewis Ferguson in there driving the standards and stuff like that, I think it definitely would help us towards where our goals are, which is maintaining a team that's going to be challenging for titles and hopefully bringing silverware to the club. And then after that, as you say, hopefully the bank account can still be open for a right top quality player up front as well. I mean, whether that's a striker that's going to do it and we just rely on our current wingers. But I would really hope that we find a place for Shankland as well, because as he said in an interview there, it's he's not a bad striker. I mean, he's not got to turn into a bad player every night. So we really need to get him working as well. We need to find the formation that's going to be suitable for him as well. So a lot of things. But on the question of tactics, 4-3-3, Lewis Ferguson in the middle, and then hopefully that says we add the quality where we need it.
AK.
There's a lot of good points here, GB. I wouldn't argue with most of them. I think we all see it that way. When it works really good, because we've seen that before. By the way, see the last couple of pieces of recruitment. You could actually argue that Gerrard is learning off McInnes is learning off the Gerrard blueprint. Penrice, we've got Romans. Both attacking fullback there in the Barisic role. Our new guy coming in to be that attacking fullback is what Tavernier's done for the last 10-11 years. You're looking for a wee bit more solidity in the defence, and obviously Godfrey's there. Hopefully he'll not be long before he's back to challenge for Fernandes' place. Big McCann looks decent, looks solid, and it's now trying to knit the midfield together in the forward line. You've got the attackers there with Yokota and Curtis. You've got Dragicevic, driving us forward. There's plenty of options there. I don't think. Do you know what's good about it though? McInnes is a different manager for what we've had before, because he is a manager. He's a man manager of the players. He's played different styles in the teams that he's been at, so he's no weight behind the ears i.e. Danny Rowe. He's just learning the ropes. Russell Martin is all about philosophy, he's all about possession. What if that goes wrong? You know, we had that before with Clement, where he proved he could be adaptable. I think McInnes will be adaptable, but you also need the players to be adaptable. So I don't think it's a stringent 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2. McInnes has got his own idea. He likes playing 4-4-2, but it's down to the personnel that he's got. He could play a 4-5-1, or the opposite way, he could play a 3-5. You know, just depending on the personnel that you've got. But the best fitter that we've seen in recent years has definitely been under Gerrard and under Giovanni, getting to Europa. So if we're building a squad to get to their kind of levels, then I think we're on the right track again.
It's a fair answer from both of you. For me, I think the 4-3-3 looks our strongest than 4-4-2. I said it on the show after the game against Hibs and during the week that I feel at times we're trying to force the 4-4-2. No, I like it, the same as you, GB. I like the two strikers up the top end of the park. But I still feel that at times the two central midfielders have got so much grass to cover, and they get pulled left and right, and that's when the gaps appear, and it causes us problems. The 4-3-3 gives us that extra body out of possession, off the ball. As AK said, you could have a 4-5-1, and it just springs into a 4-3-3. We've got the pace with Yokota. Gassama has looked well the past couple of games. Maybe he's a bit of form that we've seen when he first came in. And of course, young Finlay Curtis as well is starting to come back to the floor. There's a bit of doubt about him, but he obviously spoke today, and we'll hear from him in the second part of the show. But AK, just before we kind of wind up to the tune, you're talking about Lewis Ferguson to come in and place a Raskin at this moment in time. Question to yourself and GB: do you see Nico Raskin being a Rangers player come the end of the transfer window? AK.
I would say hopefully not. Hopefully not. And that means we have got Lewis Ferguson in, pal.
Would you feel down if he wasn't away and was still a player? Would you still have a bit of concern about that? We've brought guys in to replace him.
No, absolutely not. I've got zero affiliation for any of the players that we've got for the last couple of years. Absolutely none. Zero affiliation for the managers that have came and went as well, because we've won nothing, mate. We've been trophyless the last 2 seasons, so that tells me something's not right, whether it be the players, whether it be the players' attitude, the players' ability, you know, their wee clique that they had in the dressing room that's seen off hundreds of managers, and we've let them dominate Scottish football. So we need to improve, and we need to make harsh decisions. Whether that's fan favourites leaving the club or no, then that's what we've got today to strive to improve. So I've got zero affiliation for any of the players that have been there. The only one I can relate to a bit now for last season is young Curtis, because he's a boy, because he's one of our boys, and I want him to see him progression and be successful. But the rest of them, no. You could have an entire wipeout, and you look at the list of players. Fox put it on last night. That's 11 players. That's a full new team that we've got, but we've still got you know, a squad there of probably about boasting 30 odd players, which we need to reduce with quality. It's all very well having the quantity, but we see ourselves, some of the quality on the park needs to get improved. So I still think we've still got business today, mate, but no, as far as any of them going out the door, no, I wouldn't shed a tear for any of them.
GB, same question to yourself. Nico Raskin, a Rangers player, come the end of the window, 3rd of September.
When I seen him come back, and then he was back training, and then he was back with the captaincy at the weekend there, I was like, oh, I think it's off his and do it. I was thinking that was the kind of end of him getting his move. But then when I heard McInnes tonight, obviously talking and saying that he thinks that there is discussions going on in the background for his side, then it sounds to me there's been like a kind of agreement that Raskin will give his all until the right move appears. what I don't want is that it's something that's lingering on and he's seen as elsewhere. I'd rather that it gets done sooner rather than later. And I do wonder if it's the club whatever club that he's been touted to go to, whether they're waiting for money to come in so that they can reinvest it into Raskin. Because if there is talks going on and he is his eye on another club, then you wonder why it's taking so long. You know what I mean? So it can only be down to them having to, whatever the other club is, moving players out to get the money in to invest in him. But I just hope, as AK says, I hope that we're ready to invest that money back into the same quality, if no better, into that position. Because if we did take Raskin out that team, I don't think we would have had the same performance in midfield at the weekend. I think the midfield did really well, but I think that Raskin did have a decent game apart from obviously his wee lackadaisical moment that he always has. But overall, as a captain's performance at the weekend for us, I think it was a good performance for him. So I do think we need to, if he is going out the door, then we need to be just ready to replace it with, roughly the same quality. And it's got to be somebody that, again, it's going to be able to drive the team, talk to a referee, etc., etc. I mean, got loads of such skills, which if you had to put it on paper, they always Ferguson, and he ticks all the boxes, didn't he? I mean, it's one of the ones. I just hope that we don't, as AK's touched on, we're not messing the boy about, and he's got his heart set on coming to us, and it never. It's another 2 years down the line before Lewis Ferguson arrives at Rangers. I mean, it's one of the things. So I just hope that we are not replacing it with just another European sign. That's all I'll say. I don't think I want another an unknown getting packed in there. I want a kind of somebody that we recognise, if you know, or has got good pedigree behind them to come back into that position if Raskin goes out.
Aye, an established player. All right, we'll come back to the debate. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. Fox is eager to press play.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Thanks for that, Fox. You back with us, AK, GB?
Aye, whistling away.
Yeah, mate.
Right, GB, you can sit down now, you can stop marching.
I know. Fox's neighbours must be pulling their hair out. Listen to that.
Aye, well, listen, we were talking about Nico Raskin there, and I think he's a player, GB, that a lot of fans like because of his aggression within them. I think he came with a reputation as like the kind of pit bull, was his nickname back in Belgium. But it has went, as AK said, he's went to the World Cup. He's done well with Belgium. I'll be honest, I'm surprised he's actually still here because I thought he would have been one of the ones to go first in this transfer window. Not to say that it won't happen, but I just felt after that World Cup campaign, he would have been one of the ones to go first, which would have gave us some extra money.
Aye, mate. I think it's maybe it's a reality check as well, mate. I think sometimes Raskin did think he was like Premier League level before he was even Premier League level kind of thing. And then I think with the Belgium squad and stuff like that coming along, he's maybe had a wee bit of a swagger on him. He's had a bit of an up and down career at Rangers, hasn't he? As AK said, he's not really been overly successful at Rangers. He's had managers that have came in and like that with Russell Martin as well. It was looking as if he was definitely going out the door at that point in time. And then he comes back in at the cold. So it's a strange one we're asking. I just wonder that he's like a kind of 10 a penny player. Like, you look at her asking, like, how many clubs in the Premier Leagues and stuff like that have got boys that do the exact same job as him? I mean, I know they're not Belgium internationals, but let's face it, Belgium have not really got that many players of that position that are really like grabbing shots on it. I mean, so I'm not saying Raskin's getting his shot for not making any effort, right, or not being a good player, but I'm just saying, like, in that Premier League, they're saturated with players like that, and it's starting to get that way across the continent, that where you're getting players the exact same. So when we're like that to them, we want, just for talking sake, 25 million off you for them. Probably like, well, we could probably go and get a boy that's sitting on a bench that could do the exact same job for us for 10 million. So it's that kind of way. We've got to be a wee bit smart with this, because what we don't want is we don't want Raskin hanging about and run down a contract, and then again he's another player that leaves for nothing.
Oh, you're right. You're right. We've seen that too many times. AK, when McInnes says he expects the conversations in the background, he's under no illusions that that's been happening. That comes back to your question. Do you risk playing him if there is conversations? If he is likely to go, it goes back to your question. We've seen it with Chermiti. In hindsight, a lot of things can be said. It is a gamble.
Aye, of course, and that's why I put it out there. And as I say, if you've got a different point of view or you agree with it, come in and engage your thoughts on it. It's an open question and it's a debatable one, particularly when it's the club's finances that's at stake. As I say, we had limited options up top because Miovski seems to be frozen out in it. So he's basically went, between the three of them, he's playing 2 out of 3 between Shankland, Chermiti and Nadiri for most of the games that we've seen. Miovski's had fleeting appearances. The midfield is completely different. He's brought in Dragojevic, he's brought in Dan Neil, he's got Chuck Wani there, he's got Connor Barden there if he needed to. He's got plenty in the middle of the park that could do the same job. Cammy Devlin, another one as well. So it depends how close negotiations are, whether they're taking place, and what the options are. Because if it's imminent, a deal's going to get struck in the next couple of weeks, I don't think we should be taking a risk on Nico Raskin in the middle of the park. Young Dragojevic was brought for Serbia to come out and play that position. That was his role. And he's been kicking his heels a wee bit on the bench. You go to start at the middle of the park at the weekend there, and he proved his quality. But he'd even Chukwani running off him, and others in the team that you hadn't really seen before. Obviously, Raskin's proving his quality there as well. But if you're asking me if we're imminent to sell him and play him and continue to play him, if he breaks down, if he gets injured, mate, that's going to be a disaster for our club, and I don't think we can risk it at all, mate. But see, quickly, going on to your point with GB about that middle of the park role, I think it's a specialised role. I think it's underplayed a lot particularly a lot of the supporters. You look at Rodri for Spain and Man City. He's got a specialised role in there, and that's why Barcelona's came and got him. You know, he can make things tick, and the fact that Nico Raskin started the World Cup out the picture for Belgium, he was on the bench, and he actually came in and replaced De Bruyne. So Belgium rate him, and the fact that I think now the top 5 leagues is beginning to do their business, that's when I think, you know, dominoes can get put in place, and it can trigger other transfers between clubs, particularly in the big leagues, your England, Spain, France, Germany, Italy. That's what I think.
It's certainly going to be an interesting one, and there is still plenty of time to go in the window for ones coming in and ones to go out. As you touched on, AK, last night on the show, a lot of players there that futures maybe lie elsewhere, so a lot of things still to resolve, and we'll see how the squad looks come the end of the window. It shuts on the 3rd of September at 5 p.m. Interestingly enough, the English window shuts on the 31st of August at 11 p.m, so there's still some days after it to maybe try and get players that maybe haven't made the move or managed to secure their future elsewhere. So watch this space, as the old saying goes. But McInnes on his press conference there, GB mentioned about the wingers, the priority is the top end of the park, and that includes bringing in a winger, as he's been asked about in the past few weeks. We brought in Yokota, who has shown that he's got something about him. He's got a bit of pace. I think he just needs to work on his stamina and his kind of lasting the game. We can see on Thursday night he was done in, but we used up all the subs and he only managed a half. And Derek Spurgey was gubbed on Sunday at half time. So that was an obvious change at the time. Gassama, last couple of games, is showing that he's came out with the right attitude, I think it's fair to say. And he's produced some good football at times. He's starting to use his left foot. He's starting to drive at players again. Not going to get carried away because it's about consistency with him. And of course, Finlay Curtis as well. It is an area we need to strengthen, but the wingers, Fox raised a question, GB. If we were to play a 4-2-3-1, could Yokota be a 10 if we brought in an established right winger?
Well, you've got to keep everybody happy, Robert. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, Dakota's not turned up here just to warm a bench either. So I think the manager is going to have that headache at some point. He's going to have to rotate well. To be honest, mate, I've never seen much of Dakota, so I don't know if he is going to be suitable for that role. But what I can say about him, and for what I've seen of him so far, is that he's a dangerous player. It looks like a player that could grab the ball for the middle of the park and let us spray a pass or put a deadly pass into the box. So, I mean, if he can play off a striker or whatever, mate, then I've got no qualms with it. As long as, again, we've got that kind of quality on a wing. I mean, as Derek says, Derek sounded a wee bit desperate. Well, not desperate, that's probably the wrong word, but he was eager to get somebody in through the door, and he wasn't caring whether they could play left or right. He's just wanting somebody in the door, which tells me that that he's really wanting somebody with some serious quality on that wing. I mean, I know that we've got Gassama and stuff like that, but I think and it's good to hear that. I think he's actually looking for somebody higher again. And as he says, every club's the same. They're looking for that kind of one diamond in the rough kind of thing that's going to he's got to get goals and assists. So I'm interested who we get. I just don't. I hope it's just like I say, it's not somebody that's lingering in a squad somewhere that's know of any better quality than we've already got, because I don't think that would be fair on Finn the Clitris. I don't think it'd be fair on, to a certain extent, Gassama, if he continues the form that he's on. It's got to be somebody that is like I say, is a bit a better quality, or again maybe knows the league. Going back to kind of the Tierney links and all that doesn't seem to be going away either.
AK, your thoughts?
Stuck on mute there. Sorry, guys, staying a bridge. If you're listening, Bridge, you're the best, pal. Hope you're keeping well. Could it be staring us in the face, guys? A certain wee guy from Motherwell, Maswahisi, came in last year, made an impact. Think, what was his stats again? Did he end up there, the top goal scorer in the Scottish League? He certainly made an impact on the stats if he wasn't. Contributed with goals and assists and proved a thorn in a lot of the teams in our league. And he probably wouldn't be costing as much as Tierney is quoted as being. I mean, I don't think the transfer fee is a stumbling block, but for what I believe, he was on like 60, 70 grand over in Turkey, and that's out of your price range, I'm afraid. Even for us, even though we're one of the richest clubs going about. I muted Big Seema a few weeks ago. I would have loved to have seen him come back in some capacity if he was affordable. But I tell you, I wouldn't mind Maswahisi in the team if you're looking for competition for places. And he knows where the goal is as well. So throw it out there again to the twoies and for callers, listeners there.
I think last season, mate, I just checked when you're speaking there, he scored 22 goals in 44 games for Motherwell. I think he predominantly plays off the left, if I'm right in saying. Can play as a striker as well, and on the right. So there's a guy who can play both sides and as a 9. So already you could be killing 3 birds with 1 stone, with 1 player covering 3 positions, GB. Is that the kind of player we need? I get your point, AK. He's a guy who, again, knows the league, knows where the net is, he's got energy, he can produce quality, he can assist. But GB, your point, a certain level of player, would that meet that level for you?
I mean, the stats don't lie. I mean, the stats sound good and stuff like that. And he was a dangerous player for Motherwell. I wouldn't say no to be fair. It says he's equal to the quality that we've already got. I just hope or feel that if we are to try and dominate this league, I think we just need to release the purse strings a wee bit more. I think that's what, whether that is that we have to invest in a replacement for Raskin, and that's where all the money goes to. But I hope that says they've got somebody up their cuff that we've just not been linked with. We're very shrewd with our transfers, and names did eventually just pop up out in area. But I'm really, like I say, hoping for somebody that's, I'm not saying Champions League level or coming from Barcelona or anything like that, but I do hope that we've got somebody that's I don't know, Premier League level, that's probably what he's looking either for a good loan, even to a certain extent, like the Mikey Moore kind of thing, is somebody that's got right good talent and is just looking for somewhere to express it. It's hard, as McKinney said, everybody's looking for these wingers, everybody's looking for these forwards. But if it came down to it and that was all we were left with, and it was the choice between like what we've been linked with, the Coventry boy and the Bolton boy, I'd rather take the boy from Motherwell all day long.
AK, it's getting the balance, mate, isn't it, of bringing in a certain level of player, as GB touches on, but also not preventing a pathway for Finlay Curtis, because we do want him to succeed. And of course, you want to bring in the best player you can have. You also want to produce through one of your own. Bringing in a certain level may hamper Finlay Curtis's development. Whether you play him on the right or on the left, I think he looks more effective on the right, on his right foot, driving, putting balls in, than he does on the left. But either way, you still want to give him the opportunity to showcase it, and he might not get that if you bring in too good a player as much as we want them to be a good player.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But first and foremost, Derek McInnes has he's been tasked with improving the team. And so he's got to look at the ball carrier, the difference maker, the guy that can hurt the opposition more than what he's got already at his disposal. So if that is Maswahisi, just to kind of make up the numbers to give him the options, a 2-2, or go for your Seamer, your Cherny, that it's all figures, it's all economics and balancing things up. But I know what you're saying. Curtis, I think, will still be included in there, because you look at Gassama's levels of drop off, particularly last year. I know he played very well at the weekend there, but it's the inconsistency levels that makes him a wee bit or a big bit of a doubt with the support. The same with Asgard, he's up and down. You know, you look to strive for the consistency, and whether young Curtis is taken to the challenge. I seen a clip of his interview the day to say he took a lot of confidence with getting involved in Scotland, and watching players close up and training, and obviously being at the World Cup. So he's took a lot of confidence in that, and he's looking to make that impact to get to the next level. So I think the young boy's thriving in the environment that he is, and I think we're all praying and hoping that he makes it, because we've been harsh with McCausland in the past for me. But no, best of luck to young Finlay Curtis for the rest of the season.
Well, Fox has nicely went and got Curtis's interview from this afternoon, so let's hear from Finlay Curtis.
Finlay, Rangers have probably had a wee bit of criticism in recent years, along with our Scottish clubs not producing enough young players. See, when you hear that kind of stuff, does that just make you so determined to be that guy that comes through the academy and has an impact?
100%. I think you've seen it in recent years, there's not been that many, like you've said, but I want to be that guy that comes through. I want to be that guy that just plays with freedom, you know what I mean? And I'm just looking to do that at Rangers now, and hopefully the results keep on coming, like in the results from the past and from previous games. But I think main thing is focusing the team, just picking up as many points and many wins as we can.
And see what you did at Killie. You were one of the best players in the league for that spell. You hear people saying, but it's different at Rangers, it's tougher at Rangers. Where do you stand on that? Do you think you can replicate that here?
100%. I think there's a bigger expectation at Rangers. I think it's the be all end all, you know what I mean? Like it's one of the biggest clubs in Scotland actually. So yeah, I think it's one of those ones where I'll take my time from Killie. I couldn't thank them enough for what they did for me, but I want to replicate it at Rangers now.
How do you find working under Derek McInnes, Finlay?
Yeah, it's been brilliant. I think obviously he's gave me bits and bobs that I need to add to my game, which will make me better. But apart from that, he's just like a man manager. He gets around the boys really well, and it's an exciting chapter for the football club.
One of your colleagues said he would run through a brick wall for Derek. Is that the kind of spirit he instills in you, and is that one of the things that you can add to your game to make you that best player in the league?
100%. I think you've seen with recent managers not really being Scottish, but listen, I think the new manager coming in, gives us that confidence to run through a brick wall for him, and I think that's the main thing what we need to do at this football club, unless you won't pick up results.
I think you mentioned at the start about other wingers coming in. What is that like as a player? And there's so much talk about needing wingers, wanting wingers, new faces arrive. When you're the one that's already here, how do you treat that?
Listen, there's always competition at Rangers. They're going to bring in boys no matter what, but all I can do is just be performing, train, be performing games, and do as much as I can. And I'll be fighting no matter what to secure that position throughout the season.
Spoken a lot about your loan, but you do have positive European experiences yourself personally from the start of last season. Is it nice to have that to lean on going into these games?
100%. Like you've said, I think it's that goal against Panathinaikos. I want more. I want to score more goals in Europe, and that's the main thing. And I just want the best for the club and bring success back to it.
When you talk about that competition, when you bring in that quality in your area of the field, what does that do for you personally in terms of your development, pushing you? Do you like that competition and ensuring that you're always at your peak?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think there's always competition in the squad, no matter what position it is. So if they bring in more wingers, so be it. I'll just be trying to do my best and hopefully just add more goals and assists to my game. Like you seem like the weekend I get cleared off the line, which I was raging about. But yeah, all I can do is just be myself and just play football like I love it. So yeah.
This probably isn't the competition you wanted to be in, obviously, but do you also see an opportunity for this club to do some damage in this competition?
100%. I think it's not the result we wanted against the last team there. So I think against this team, we all just need to be confident and take that result on Sunday to do really well.
Thanks for that, Fox. GB, he's not being naive. I think he's being quite realistic in where he sees himself. Obviously, with the talk about wingers coming into the club, but I think he's a determined young guy.
He is, and I do hope he gets there, to be fair. It's just the consistency side of things for Curtis, I think, as he comes in, and Ox has always said, there's all things that seem to happen inside that box for him. We just need to see what his consistent deadly performances of him. Like that time when he was coming in for Russell Martin and stuff like that, it was a total game changer. It was that substitution that kept coming on and getting goals, and sadly that it got disrupted with new signings coming in through the door, less game time, and then eventually the boy took it upon himself wanting a loan move, which was brilliant for him, going to a World Cup. So I mean the gauntlet's laid in for him. He knows that there's got to be players coming in, so it's up to him to try and grab this shirt. And to be fair, they him to Dakota. That's his challenge in front of him now on that right side. So there's no reason why he can't challenge for that position. All I would say is that Dakota is a bit more got technical ability with the ball at his feet. But again, if that's what the manager said to him, that if it's wee tweaks that he's needing to develop his game on, then that's down to Curtis. He's got to develop these tools to become an all-round player. But what I don't want for him is that he just becomes another squad player. We've seen it too many times, and I think he's the one shining light so far. As Dakey touched on, you seen McCausland come on the other day there and get his goal. I mean, when that boy came on for, I think it was Clermont back in the time, then you're thinking, oh, maybe he was going to make it. So you don't want Curtis to go down that same road. Nobody all the promise that he's had. I don't think he will, but football can change quite fast in Rangers at times with the glitzy signing. I mean, we're bad for that. We're bad for just buying somebody because of they come for a fancy league or whatever. I mean, so we've got to be careful with that situation. But no, I like his hunger and his eagerness to be a successful Rangers player.
Where do you see his best position, the right or the left? I think it's on the right. I think he's more direct than on the right. I know he likes to come inside as well, and that's the way we like to play these days. But I think if you're looking at it at the minute, you've seen him play on the left. He played on the right on Sunday. He was really effective when he came on the pitch. I think it's his right-hand side. And the fact that he's played on left, now played on the right, I think that's McInnes weighing up. Is a priority on the left side to bring in, or on the left side, the right side to bring in?
I go with the way the signings have gone and the way Curtis has performed. Probably the left is the kind of priority, isn't it? The left wing side. Where's his best position? I mean, it's hard because again, the way he played when he came in, when he played in the left, like some of the goals he was scoring at that time were belters. I mean, so but it fizzled out. It fizzled out pretty quickly on that side. Whereas I would say consistency wise, he's probably played better on the right. So we're short on the right, and we were short of quality right. So I would maybe see it's him and Dakota. It's got the the shirt to grab there, and hopefully that's healthy competition in that position. And then, like you says, if we go for somebody kind of same levels as Sama, if no better, then there's got to be healthy competition in there. Somebody can keep rotating and stuff like that.
AK, same question to yourself. Where do you see Finlay Curtis being most effective, the right or the left?
I think he can play anywhere across it's just about getting the opportunity for him. Depends on the tactics that we want to play as well. But if you've got Kisama, who his face is tripping him if he's not out on the left, who's his competition? Can't mind off the top of my head, but you've got Yokota, as you say, and Curtis there. It's just trying to get the opportunity to keep putting yourself out there. We Ian Durant could play anywhere across the front line, and that's the kind of. I know I'm not comparing Durant to Curtis by any man. I mean, the wee man was just happy to get thrown a jersey and go out there and try his best for the team. But if he can make some sort of impact, whether it be assists, scoring goals, causing bother, impacting the game, then that's good for the team. But see the recruitment, just a wee point again for yourselves. See, you look at it, we brought back Shankland, who started at Rangers as a boy. McCrory started at Rangers as a boy, we brought him back. Penrice, we're hoping to bring back Lewis Ferguson. There's 4 players that we let go a number of years ago because the managers or the recruitment at the time didn't feel that they were good enough to kick us out to their levels, and now it's costing us money to bring these guys back. Maybe we should be a wee bit more patient with the likes of young Finlay Curtis and realise the potential that he's got.
Aye, you're right, mate. You're right. And somebody that shares your same thoughts there's Gary. He's listening to the YouTube feed tonight as well. He's kind of said similar to what you've just said, Eric, that he's got the credentials to be a top player for us. And sometimes the fans are just too quick to get on players back, particularly the young boys, as you touched on, GB, as well. And with the likes of Ross McCausland under Clement, there was high hopes for him. It dwindled a wee bit, and then we see him scoring at the weekend, which is a sight I thought I would never see again in like many. But GB, you're right. There is got to be a bit of patience with these youngsters because, as AK's touched on there, you let them go, they go away, they be successful elsewhere, or they earn a move back. Costs you money when they're right on your door in the first place.
I know. Was it the boy Robbie Urey as well? He signs for Seville there. You mean you're like that boy could have been in our team? Don't get me wrong. There's probably ones in amongst there that we've let go and we'll probably never ever see them again. But I agree with it that I think back in the time of Lewis Ferguson, probably Penrice to a certain extent and stuff like that, I think the setup was maybe too Rangersy. It was like, they're no Rangers level yet. I think, well, as much as we keep saying as fans, we need Rangers men in the team. Yes, we need the Rangers men, but at that kind of level for the boys' youth side, we did need more patience. We're too probably at that time saying, "Oh no, they'll never make it at Rangers level." No, carry on. Don't get me wrong, it might have been a kind of case where, let's say, there's that many midfielders, and you're needle in a haystack as well. Like you're a same midfielder as the other midfielder next to you, and same. I says you've got defenders, you've got the same kind of goalkeepers. There's only one position that can get taken up in these kind of youth systems, and I think sometimes it could be just the toss of a coin. And maybe young boys get to a point in their time where other clubs are saying to them, "Well, we'll give you a start, we'll give you first team football," and probably their mums and dads are like, "Well, it's time to go and earn coin and then maybe come back to Rangers," as we've seen with how AK's round the wall after the wall came back eventually. So I think there's a bit of club failing in it as well, and there's probably a bit that unfortunately the boys are looking at the clock and they're going, "Well, what's happening here? Am I going to break through or am I no? Or if I'm not going to break through, then I've really got to think about my future." and go and grab somewhere that's going to help put me in the limelight to get bigger moves. And as you've seen, like I says, with that boy Yuri, he's went out there and he's shown his talent, and now he's playing, like I says, for Seville. And who would have knew? I would have never thought that boy would have made it to a team like Seville.
Aye, and fair play to him. He's took a chance going to, I think it was the Swedish league he went to, and he's performed well enough to get a move to one of the top 5 leagues and going to La Liga. And he'll test himself there, and that's something you want to see in young players, particular, going and testing themselves. And AK, that kind of comes back to your point there, mate, about these guys go away and they come back. Maybe it is touching on what GB said as well. Maybe the timing being at Rangers just isn't right for them. They've got to go and get that experience. I mean, Big Shug, again, one of the guys listening on YouTube, mentions the boy Kyle Glasgow. Shug says he's the best prospect he can remember in many a year. And he's went out to Alloa. He's scored some goals of late. He's picked up man of match performances. Sometimes they've just got to go and get that experience before being the ready-made Rangers player that we all want to see.
It's the development of the younger guys, and I think there's been a void in the Scottish game where they've been kicking their heels for a few years at Rangers and no progression in their career, so to speak, as they should have been doing, i.e. your Ross McCrory's brother, Robbie. He was at our club for a number of years, Leon King, guys like that. They didn't probably do themselves any favour with hanging about just hoping for the opportunity they were getting, but Rangers kept buying in players because the manager didn't fancy him and he wants in his own players, and he probably doesn't trust the Scottish boys the way he would with if somebody knew if like the Scandinavian leagues or whatever, so it's a double-edged sword, so to speak, but it just shows you if the boys are good enough and you give them the opportunity, then they can shine, but they need the development to get there. They need the game time. We've done the same with Baylor Rice to put him out to Motherwell, to give him game time, and hopefully he comes back the better player to fill the void that we thought he should have been filling, So it's just a bit of good man management, good coaching, good responsibility for the player, but also the player to show a certain level of ambition to realise, nah, I'm not going anywhere here. I'm not happy just picking up my wage here, even though I'm at the club that I've always wanted to be at. I want to do something for the club. I want to be successful for the club. But just kicking your heels there and picking up a wage, that's just going to put your career, to the end very soon, very quickly. Even though you've been picking up a wage, how many medals have you won? And that's where I like the likes of Lewis Ferguson showing the ambition, Penrice showing the ambition, Shanklin resurrecting his career, and others who have done it as well, mate.
Aye, exactly, and there's got to be a pathway somewhere for them, and hopefully there's maybe a summit coming up with the SFA. Craig Mulholland, ironically, formerly at Rangers, is now part of the SFA, and he's holding a summit to try and promote the intake of Scottish youth players and try and get them back to the level of maybe the olden days that a lot of the listeners out there will know. But we're moving into the last 20 minutes or so of the show. If you want to come join us, 0141 356 1972. If you want to give us your take on the future of Nico Raskin we've discussed tonight, the formation, did you prefer the 4-3-3, the 4-4-2, transfer window, anything at all, come join us. Just before we go on to tomorrow night's game, AK, just a question for yourself, mate. I know you've spoke a lot about this regarding Derek McInnes, that he prides himself in Scottish talent. Finlay Curtis, a young boy. We've just mentioned there, Kyle Glasgow, another young boy. A lot of the guys in the academy have went out on loan through the co-op agreements to other clubs or just to clubs within the Scottish pyramid. Marco Negri's eye on YouTube. The modern day coaching doesn't help these young players. They find a positive in a boy's game and immediately driven into them why they must harness it rather than express it. For the likes of Finlay Curtis, is Derek McInnes the right guy to get that out of them and let them express their talent?
Aye, yes, and it's a great point. Well done. Is it Marco Negri's eye? Did you say that? That's a name and a half. But no, listen, it's a very observant point, and you do need that sort of manager, and there has been the managers over the years, but it's good coaching as well. It's just making the right decision between the manager and the coaches and the player himself. Take Mikey Moore, for example. We had the opportunity to see the talent that Spurs have got in their hand, and he would have had the discussions. He's only a young boy, but he's looking to progress and kick onto the next level. So Spurs were looking to get into that next level there and play under 23s or whatever the leagues is in England. So they chose us because of the environment, a pressured environment. He's expected to win. It's a man's league. It's not a wee boys league. Completely different. And then he comes back a better player. I think they are now looking for him to possibly go to the Bundesliga to then develop the technical side of his game. And I'm pretty sure Mikey's got that in his armoury that he will develop that. So in essence, Spurs is looking 2, 3, 4 years down the line when he's ready to come into the Spurs first team. Some might say he might have been ready to come into it just last year, particularly when they were struggling. But I think it's good. It's good guidance. It's good philosophy to do it the way they are doing, and we done it ourselves with Finlay Curtis. We're looking at to do it with Kyle Glasgow, Boy Rice, Bailey Rice, and that. And it's at least somebody's looking after them now, mate, and instead of getting discarded on the sideline. So hopefully it's good for the development of Scottish football, and these guys can improve us as a team and hopefully progress onto the international stage with Scotland.
Here's hoping, mate. Here's hoping, because it's always good to see the youngsters come through, particularly if they are one of our own. You want to see them being successful, but you've got to have the right pathway for it, and hopefully that's something that can be rectified in the coming months or seasons. But GB, just going on to tomorrow night's game, of course, Jablonec, Czech side, AK mentioned a few points about them last night, finished 4th in the league last season, started well this season, played 3. AK will correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've won all 3. AK, is that right?
Yep, correct, pal.
They've predominantly been a team that is around the European stage, GB. I think the last time though they were in Europe was the Conference League in 21-22. They finished 3rd in the group stage, so they've got a bit of experience within this setup. A team maybe similar to can't even say their name. Jablonec last week. Easy for me to say.
I wouldn't be able to say. I would just say Jaglec or something like that. I mean, I would be totally lost as well, mate. Like all these names that's coming out Rangers are now, man, it's just totally bamboozled me. You know, like I said, don't get me started on countries. I mean, so, but I mate, that like. We'll need to be switched on, Robert. Like I says, this is again, it's not a gimme, the Conference League. We've seen in the past, like you've mentioned earlier, mate, with the amount of good teams that drop into this competition and the teams that end up winning it is usually, like I says, teams that are probably either doing well in the Premier League or they're, like I says, if it's a German league or whatever, they're usually, like I says, good teams with good technical ability in them, and they've always got dangerous players. I always wonder sometimes why we don't look at these kind of teams, as I've mentioned before, about like Seville in the past and stuff like that. Like they've always been kind of mid-table teams, but they've always had dangerous wingers, dangerous strikers, and we've never been able to tap into any of it. I mean, and again, the modern night again will be just switched on because it will be their attacking play that will be our undoing. Do I think we can get at them? Of course, because again, they are where they are in the league. And we should be able to handle it. But again, these players that come into it they're trying to get their next move. You know what I mean, they don't want to stay in these leagues either, and that's why you sometimes see them perform or overperform in these competitions because they're obviously trying to get their name in the paper as well. So, but I hope our kind of feel good factor does continue tomorrow night, mate. I hope for the same kind of fast start that we had against St Mirren, solid performance, and hopefully not too many shaky moments at the back.
Hey, Keith, you touched on they have started their domestic campaign well. I think when I was looking at them earlier on, in the last 6 games, they've won, scoring 11 goals, conceding 2. So I'm expecting that they're quite a hard team to break down. But it's, again, down to ourselves to try and unlock that defence, score goals, take the positives from Sunday, as Derek McKinnon said. And the good thing about Sunday was, mate, we scored 5 goals. And the only one that really came from a set play was the counter-attack, which was an opposite side, a transition moment from St Mirren, and then the free kick that led to Dragojevic's goal. Everything else was open play.
Aye, it was an upturn in performance for what we've seen for the start of the season. That's for sure. And St Mirren was a potential banana skin because of the way that they've started the season. Obviously, they've won their first two games to be joint top of the team. I'm not saying that they're there to be beat. You know, just look at their opponents as well. It's all very well saying that they've won 3-3, but they've not played, I don't think, any of the kind of big guns. The Czech Republic League is a wee bit similar to our own. The two Prague clubs are by far and away the 2 strongest clubs in the division, and all the rest of them are a muchness. They finished 4th in their league last year, but I don't think they've played any of the Prague teams so far. So St Mirren have started, 2-2. But if they were going into Europe, would the opponents say, "Oh, they're joint top of that league," and then dismiss Rangers where they are? But it's going to be a potential banana skin. I just hope that we start well, and the crowd get behind the team and roar us on to victory. I'll be there myself again, so I'm looking forward to it. If it's a wet, rainy night in Glasgow, that might work in our favour as well. But I just hope we start in the front foot. The early goal was a massive difference for us. I think that relieved a lot of the anxiety out of the stands, and I think the players grew in confidence. The more goals that they were putting in there, and you got 5 different goal scorers at the weekend as well. So we're spreading the goals there too. But I'm looking forward. I mean, would you change the team at all? Would you change the system? Personally, me, no. But would you guys? Why broke? Why fix what's no broke, sort of thing? That's the way I see it.
Are you asking that because you knew I was going to ask that as the next question? How are you lining it up?
Oh, I did. I know you too well.
I would be tempted to keep the same squad, same 11 that started on Sunday, but I don't think it will be the case. I think there's a chance that you'll see Costa starting at right back over Sterling. He obviously played 90 minutes last Thursday and then the majority of the game on Sunday. So again, question over fitness, can he do that? I'm not sure. I think you've brought Costa in for a reason. Again, it would give us a more attacking threat on that right-hand side. I think Curtis showed that he could merit a start, but I don't think he'll get the start. I think it'll be the same kind of front, and I think Shankland comes back in ahead of Nadiri. That's the changes I see happening. GB?
I definitely think there'll probably be small changes. I think Dakota will start, and only because he got the rest, because he took him off obviously at the weekend. That's why I think he'll get the nod to start first. Up front's a weird one. I do want Shankland to be in there, Robert, I do, but it's because of the way Nadiri played. He was like a focal point there, whereas Shankland, I think, is kind of a different striker to that. So it just depends how much work Shankland's going to have to put into that position, and whether he's ready for that. We've seen him doing it at Hearts and stuff, so if it can work, it can work, mate. But I'm reluctant as well, in a sense, because Naderi was the kind of focal point, and this wingers seem to feed off him pretty well, and the same with the midfield. They seemed to give them space because everybody was kind of occupied with Naderi at times, even though Naderi, although I know he got his goal and stuff, but apart from that, there wasn't too much from him, like goal threat wise. So changes, I don't think there'll be much in the defence. I think it's more the striking option. I think it might go with Shankland up front.
AK in the midfield, Dragojevic, Raskin, Chukwueze started at the weekend. You've said there, if it's not broke, don't change it. Do you see any changes there?
I'm contradicting myself then, with saying that, and I know again, it's one for the management to look at. They obviously see this game as important, but do you risk Raskin? I just don't know. I'm in a quandary there with that, Ian. I personally would take Raskin out the firing line if there is negotiations going on in the background. If there isn't, then I think the next game is the most important for Derek McInnes because he wants to build the momentum. But I think you've got Dan Neil there, and you've got Reid Evelyn there, who can come in and do a similar job to Raskin for me, and just switch up Wani and Dragojevic do their thing. I don't think the new right back would come in right away, because I thought Big Sterling actually played pretty well at the weekend, and Naderi done a lot of chasing, he done a lot of harrying, which brought Yokota and Gassama into the game and gave that supporting back three in behind them room to run into. Shankland doesn't do that. He's a completely different striker. He needs service into the area, and you want him in that box. So that he's got potential. He's decisions to make. Whatever he picks, I'll go with. Obviously, I'll support, and hopefully that it's good enough to have a comfortable win going into the second leg, because you go out of that second leg, I would imagine the heat in the Czech Republic will be a factor. So you don't want to go out there with just maybe a 1-goal lead or even drawing in the game in the balance. You want to take at least a 2 or 3 goal lead over there if you can.
Is that an important factor, AK, that the first leg's at home, that you can try and get a good lead?
Well, I think if you look at the last game, I think Jagiellonia definitely took advantage of their home leg, even though it was just with that solitary goal. But it made them come to Ibrox no fearing that they're all, even though they went behind kind of early doors. I think that they still felt comfortable in the game, and obviously the sucker does, and as long as the game went on, I think they felt more comfortable in the game, particularly on the break, because we weren't probing them as probably as much as what they expected us to do. So it's a wee game of chess between the managers but the end result is the main factor.
GB, your thoughts? Home leg, first tie, is that an advantage that you've got to use?
Aye, 100%, Robert. You've got to get the nose in front, mate. We've got to go to this game and let's just win it first and foremost, no matter what the scoreline is, and take something earlier. And then that way, like KK says, if as you seen in the last game, even the way them going behind, the 1 goal just flips it for them. I mean, it puts them back in pole position. So we've got to kind of take that same kind of attitude, get the game won here, and then let's just take it earlier and let them come to us if it comes to it, and then we net the goals that are needed to get us through to the next round. And getting through to the group stages. But it's going to take again a similar performance at the weekend. Mate. We've all got to be switched on. The passes got to be crisp, and they've all got to have an understanding, especially in that defence. That's still an area of concern. As much as I players like Maka and that, they have been performing. Goalkeepers have been performing. Sterling's been all right. Penrice was amazing, but it's Big Fernandes again. If he gets a nod, that's where my concern is. He's certainly needing an arm around the shoulder now if he's got to be keeping the shot. And I like Sarah asking and that being switched off as well at times. We're needing the team not to allow these kind of teams to have any hope of getting through to the next round. If we kill the tie at home, then it's an uphill struggle for them. They've got to come and out their box more and try and be a wee bit more braver in the second leg, in which again hopefully then we can exploit it with our quality, with Gassama with pace, Curtis with pace, Dakota with pace, even in Asgard to a certain extent with his quality up front at times. And then we've got our strikers. So there's plenty to be hopeful for, but it's, again, it all comes back down to us with the application and attitude. It's got to be bang on for minute one, exactly what we've seen at the weekend.
Here. You mentioned Asgard there, and AK, it is a weird one when we're sitting here trying to think of the team and how we'd shape it up. Only a few weeks ago, we were saying we had to find a place for Asgard because he was the only guy that could give us creativity. Now, when you look at the basis of Sunday, that formation, that setup, you can't really find a place for Asgard other than the bench.
Well, results dictate that. The fact that we've had that resounding victory at the weekend, it says a lot for the players that started the game and what finished the game. And they all made contributions. There was very few players, if any, that went off the park with, substandard performance, with the manager shouting, ringing in their ears. And Asgard is one of the luxury type players that few teams can ill afford to have when the rest of the team isn't functioning. If the rest of the team's functioning, you can have that difference maker. Currently, we're McInnes doesn't really know his best players. He doesn't know who he can trust. He doesn't know what they can do, how long they're going to last, and their numbers, this and that. So the less of the type players in your team, probably I think would be beneficial for McInnes to now. And if he needs to bring them on as an impact player, then fine, he can use them that way. But when you've got the likes of Diamondi, Gassama, Asgard, Fernandes all in the team early doors, I think that was a lot to do with how inconsistent the levels of the team was, and the fact we weren't getting the victories we should have been getting.
Aye, exactly. Performances determine your next game, and I think sitting here going into tomorrow night, it's a much better feeling than it was a week ago. So here's hoping for a good result tomorrow night. But thanks for joining us, AK. Final word from yourself, mate. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Aye, no worries. No, good to crash the party, so to speak. But no, it's good to hear yourself, GB, the tech team, and hope everybody enjoyed the listen. We're going to tomorrow night now, Mick. European football is vital for us going forward. So no matter the levels, the team we're playing against, or the competition that we're in, we're still Rangers and we're still looking to win. So on the Rangers, let's come back with a good victory to go into the second leg. Thanks again, boys.
Cheers, pal. GB, final word from yourself, mate. Thanks for joining me tonight.
No, it's been a pleasure, mate, and thanks to AK as well. It was good joining us as well. Keep the topics going tonight, and thanks to again the techie boys in the background and yourself, mate. Been really good host tonight. I'll try and not be a stranger, mate, as the famous words of Rangers Radio. But the fans will be turning up with good hope for the weekend, mate. So I hope for a decent result for them tomorrow night, mate. And let's you enjoy yourselves. Catch you soon.
Cheers, GB. Always a pleasure, mate. Can I just thank AK for joining us, GB for doing the show with me, Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals in the background, and of course everybody that's been listening on Facebook and YouTube and interacting with your comments. Always appreciated your interaction. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6:45 with a pre-match show ahead of Rangers versus Jablonec in the UEFA Conference League. Until then, enjoy the rest of your night. Take care. Take it away. Old School Blue.